Auzu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammad. Kama sallaita ala Ibrahima wa ala ali Ibrahima. Innaka Hamidum Majid. Allahumma barik ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammad. Kama barakta ala Ibrahima wa ala ali Ibrahima. Innaka Hamidum Majid. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri. واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي ربنا زدنا علما يا مقلب القلوب ثبت قلبي على دينك آمين. Surah Dahar, the second part of the surah, in which we'll do from verse number 24 till 60, and now see from verse number 24. Hal ataka hadisu zayfi Ibrahim al-Mukrameen. Has the story of Ibrahim alayhi salam, honorable guest, reached you? Is dakhalu alayhi faqalu salama qala salamun qawmun munkarun. When they came to him and greeted with salam, he said, peace be upon you too, you people are stranger. Verse number 26. Faragha ila ahlihi faja'a bi'ijli samin. He then went to his family and returned with a fat roasted calf. فقرباه عليهم قال ألا تأكلون. He, verse number 27, he served it to them, and when they did not partake of it, he said, are you not going to eat? فأوجس منه خيفة قالوا لا تخف وبشروا بغلام أليم. He grew afraid of them. They said, do not be afraid. And they gave him the glad tidings of an intelligent child. فأقبلت امرأته في سرة فسكت وجهها وقالت أجوز أكيم. His wife arrived, calling loudly, smote her face, and said, an old barren woman. قالوا كذلك قال ربك إنه هو الحكيم العليم. They said, thus has your Rabb said, and he is the wise, the all-knowing. Now verse number 31, and here para number 27 has begun. قال فما خطبكم أيها المرسلون. The Hazrat Ibrahim said, Hazrat Ibrahim said, what is your duty, O messenger? قالوا إنا أرسلنا إلى قوم مجرمين. They replied, we have been sent to a criminal nation. لنرسل عليهم حجارة من طين, to rain and stones upon them. مسومة عند ربك للمسرفين. The stones have been marked by your Rabb of them who transgress the limits. وأخرجنا ما كان فيها من المؤمنين. We shall remove those who are believers from the town. فما وجدنا فيها غير بيت من المسلمين. We found only a single home of Muslims there. وتركنا فيها آيات للذين يخافون عذاب الأليم. In this incident, we have left a lesson for those who fear a painful punishment. Verse number 37. Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam left his hometown in the vicinity of Babylon and migrated to Palestine, where he took up residence. Hazrat alayhi salam also migrated to Sham and lived with people who occupied several towns on the bank of the Jordan River. Allah made Hazrat alayhi salam a Nabi, and he made tremendous efforts to reform the people who engaged in many evil practices, homosexuality being the most prominent vice. Eventually, when they refused to heed his advice and warnings, Allah Ta'ala dispatched the group of angels to punish them. In human form, these angels first paid a visit to Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam, because the angels are revered boardsman of Allah. Allah says, has the story of Ibrahim alayhi salam, honorable guest, reached you? When they came to him and greeted with salam, he said, "Peace be upon you too." However, because it was the first time that he had met them, Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam said it, added, "You people are strangers." Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam was hardly with them when he went to his wife and returned with a fat roasted calf. When he served the calf to the guests, they did not eat because angels do not eat food. Encouraging them to eat, Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam asked them, asked, "Are you not going to eat?" When they failed to respond after the verbal offer, he grew afraid of them. According to verse 52 of Surah Hijr, Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam said to them, "We are afraid of you." He was afraid because not knowing that they were angels, he thought that they had come to him with evil intentions. The angels calmed Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam by saying, "Do not be afraid. Indeed, we wish to convey to you the glad tidings of a knowledgeable child." Verse number 53, Surah Hijr. Surprised at this news, Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam said, "Do you give me these glad tidings whereas old age has afflicted me? What glad tidings can you deliver?" Verse number 54 of the same surah. Allah relates the story in Surah Hud, verse 71-72, when He says, "His wife standing by laughed as we conveyed to her the glad tidings of Ishq, the glad tidings of Ishaq and Yaqub. After Ishaq, she said, Woe is me! Shall I bear a child when I am an old woman, and my husband here is an old man? This is indeed a strange event." Here in Surah Dhariyat, Allah relates the incident by saying his wife arrived calling loudly, smoothed her face, and said, "An old barren woman." The addition of the object barren makes it clear that she was a woman who had not borne any children before. The angel replied, "Thus has your Rabb said, and he is the wise, the all knowing." Allah had already decreed that a child should be born to them, for the knows for he knows best and can do as he pleases. Eventually, the child Ishaq alayhi salam was born, who was the father of Hazrat Yaqub alayhi salam. Hazrat Yaqub alayhi salam was known as Israel, and his progeny are refused to as the Bani Israel. His progeny are referred to as the Bani Israel. When Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam was convinced that these people are angels, he asked them, "What is your duty, O messengers?" They replied, "We have been sent to destroy a criminal nation, the nation of Hazrat Lut, to rain clay stones upon them. The stones have been marked by Europe for them who transgress the limit." Each stone bore the name of the transgressor it was intended to strike. Surah Ankabut, verse number 31-32 mentions that the angel said, "We are to destroy the inhabitants of this town. Its inhabitants are certainly oppressors." Ibrahim alayhi salam said, "Lut is among them." They replied, "We know best who is present there. We shall definitely rescue him and his family except for his wife. She will among those left behind." The incident in Surah Zariyat continues as follows. The angel said further, "We shall remove those who are believers from the town." We only found a single home of Muslims there. The single home of Mu'mineen refers to the household of Hazrat Lut alayhi salam with the exception of his wife. Malumat-e-Tanzil reports that the only Mu'mineen in the town were Hazrat Lut alayhi salam and his two daughters. They were the only three people who were rescued from the punishment. Ruhul Mani reports from Hazrat Sa'id bin Jubair radiallahu ta'ala anhu that there were 13 Mu'mineen. If this is correct, the single home of Muslims will be interpreted to mean that they had all gathered in the house of Hazrat Lut alayhi salam. The angels then came to Hazrat Lut alayhi salam and told him, so travel with your family during a portion of the night, follow on their heels, and none of you should turn around, and proceed whence you have been commanded. Verse number 65, Surah Hijr. Describing the punishment, Allah says in verse number 73 and 74 of Surah Hijr, so a scream seized them at sunrise. We turned them upside down and showered clay pebbles on them. Some commentators mention that the scream destroyed those lying in the area and their land was turned upside down. Those living in the outlying areas were destroyed by the showers of stones. Allah concludes the episode by saying, in this incident, we have left a lesson for those who fear a painful punishment. Whereas the ruins of these cities ought to be a lesson for people, they treat it as a place of sightseeing and touring. The Dead Sea now marks the spot where the nation of Hazrat salam was destroyed. The destruction of Hazrat salam's nation is mentioned in Surah Anam, verse number 80 till 84. Surah Hud, verses 77 till 83. Surah Hijr, verses 61 79. Surah Anbiya, verses 74 75. Surah Shura, verses 160 till 175. Surah Namal, verses 54 till 58. And in Surah Ankabut, verses 32 till 35. Now I'll recite from verse number 38 till 46. وَفِي مُوسَى إِذْ أَرْسَلْنَاهُ إِلَى فِرْعَوْنَ بِسُلْطَانٍ مُبِينٍ. And there is also a lesson in the story of Musa alayhi salam when we sent him to Pharaoh with a clear proof. فَتَوَلَّى بِرُكْنِهِ فَقَالَ سَاحِرٌ أَوْ مَجْنُونٌ. However, Pharaoh turned away together with his party and said, he is either a magician or a madman. فَأَخَذْنَاهُ وَجُنُودُهُ فَنَبَذْنَاهُمْ فِي الْيَمِّ وَهُوَ مُلِيمٌ. So we seized him and his army and cast them into the ocean while he lamented. وفي عاد إذ أرسلنا عليهم الريح الأكيم. And there is also a lesson in the story of the Ad when we sent a wind to them that was devoid of any good. ما تزار من شيء آتت عليه إلا جعلته كالرميم. It reduced everything it passed to smithereens. وفي ثمود إذ قيل لهم تمتعوا حتى حين. And there is also a lesson in the story of Thamud when they were told, enjoy yourself for a while. Verse number 44. فَآتَوْا عَنْ أَمْرِ رَبِّهِمْ فَأَخَذْتُهُمْ فَأَخَذَتْهُمُ الصَّاعِقَةُ وَهُمْ يَنْصُرُونَ. They transgressed against the command of their Rabb, so a punishment seized them as they looked on. فَمَا اسْتَطَاعُوا مِنْ قِيَامٍ وَمَا كَانُوا مُنْتَصِرِينَ. They were unable even to stand and were helpless to avenge themselves. وَقَوْمَ نُوحٍ مِنْ قَبْلِ إِنَّهُمْ كَانُوا قَوْمٌ فَاسِقِينَ. Such was the condition of the nation of Nuh alayhi salam before. They were indeed a sinful nation. After recounting the destruction of Hazrat Lut alayhi salam's people, Allah speaks about the rebellion and subsequent annihilation of Pharaoh, the nation of Ad, and the nation of Thamud. Allah says, and there is also a lesson in the story of Musa alayhi salam when we sent him to Pharaoh with a clear proof. The clear proof refers to the various miraculous Allah Ta'ala enabled Hazrat Musa alayhi salam to carry out. These miracles were so convincing that they were a clear proof to any person that Hazrat Musa alayhi salam was definitely Allah's Nabi and that his invitation of Tawheed was certainly the truth. However, despite the clear signs of Hazrat Musa alayhi salam's prophethood, Pharaoh turned away together with his party and said he is either a magician or a madman. Pharaoh, his countries, his army, and all his followers were then drowned because they all adopted the same proud attitude and refused to accept the truth. Allah says, so we seized him and his army and cast them into an ocean as he perpetrated lamentable acts. His deeds and his behavior were a source of regret to him because they resulted in his own destruction as well as in the destruction of his people. The destruction of Iran has been discussed in several surah and will inshallah also be discussed in Surah Naziyat verses 15 till 26. Allah continues to narrate, and there is also a lesson in the story of the Ad when he who sent a wind to them that was devoid of any good. The story of the Ad has already passed in Surah Araf verses 65 till 72, Surah Hud verses 50 till 60, Surah Shura verses 123 till 140, and Surah Hamim Sajda verses 13 till 16. The incident is also mentioned in Surah Qamar verses 18 till 22 and in Surah Haqqa verses 6 till 8. Allah sent Hazahud salam as a messenger to them, and the Ad were an extremely proud and powerful nation who made the claim, who can be more powerful than us? Allah sent a wind to destroy them that was extremely devastating and held no good for them. If the wind brought them rain, it would have had some benefit for them. However, the wind was not only devoid of rain, but it was devoid of any good whatsoever. Describing the punishment, Allah says in Surah Haqqa, as for the Ad, they were destroyed by an icy tempest. Allah unleashed it upon them for 7 consecutive nights and 8 consecutive days. You would have been seen them lying flat on the ground as if they were hollow palm trunks. Do you see any of them surviving? Here is Here in Surah Dhariyat, Allah describes the intensity of the wind by saying it reduced everything it passed to smithereens. Allah Ta'ala uses the Arabic word ramim to reduce the remain of everything that the wind passed. The word generally refers to decomposed remains of corpse and the crushed remains of dry grass. The various verses describing their punishment make it clear that when the punishment struck, the Ad were felled like palm trunks, while everything about them was reduced to dust. Of course, after the passing of time, their bodies were also reduced to dust. The wind that destroyed the earth blew from a westerly direction called the Dabur in Arabic. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam once said, I have been assisted with the Saba and the earth were destroyed with Dabur. The Saba is a wind that blows from an easterly direction. It is this wind that drove the kuffar away from Medina when they lay side to Medina during the Battle of the Trench. Allah Ta'ala then discussed the destruction of Samud. Allah sent Hazrat Salih alayhi salam as a Nabi to them. However, they were obstinate and refused to accept the message of Tawheed. The details of Samud are discussed in Surah Araf verses 73 till 79, Surah Hud verses 61 till 68, Surah Shura verses 141 till 159, Surah Hamim Sajda verses 17 till 18, Surah Qamar verses 23 till 32, and in Surah Haqqa verses 4 till 5, 4 and 5. When the Samud requested that Hazrat Salih salam causes a pregnant camel to emerge from a mountain, Allah made this miracle possible. However, when they were told that the camel should be allowed to drink by herself every alternate day and that the camels should drink during the other days, they grew upset. They eventually killed the camel despite warning from Hazrat Salih salam, who said to them, this camel of Allah is a sign for you, so leave it to graze in Allah's land and do not afflict it with evil, for then a painful punishment will seize you. Surah Araf, verse number 73. When they killed the camel, Hazrat Salih said to them, enjoy yourself for a while. Allah mentioned in Surah Hud, verse 65, that Hazrat Salih said to them, enjoy yourself in your homes for 3 days. This is a promise that will not be falsified. As promised, they were wiped out after 3 days. Allah says, a punishment seized them as they looked on. Allah says in Surah Hamim Sajda, so because of what they earned, a catastrophic punishment seized them, which was extremely humiliating. Verse number 17. The Arabic word sa'iqa used in both the above verses to describe the punishment have been simply translated as punishment. Commentators mention that it is actually refers to a form of punishment that is inflicted by a bolt of lightning and a thunderclap. The same punishment has been described in Surah Hud and Surah Qamar as a scream. Nevertheless, it struck them after 3 days. Allah says in Surah Hud, a scream seized the oppressor and they were left lying face down in their homes as if they were never existed there. Verses 67 and 68. They were unable even to stand and were helpless to avenge themselves. When Allah's punishment strikes a nation, nothing can help them. Allah then speaks of the punishment that afflicts the nation of Hazrat Nuh alayhi salam. Allah says, such was the condition with the nation of Nuh alayhi salam before the Ad and Samud. They were indeed a sinful nation as well, just like the others. Numerous surahs discuss the incident of Hazrat Nuh and his nation. Now I'll recite from verse number 47 till 55. Okay. وَالسَّمَاءَ بَنَيْنَاهَا بِأَيْدٍ وَإِنَّا لَمُوسِعُونَ. We created the sky with might and we certainly possess vast powers. وَالْأَرْضَ فَرَشْنَاهَا فَنِعْمَ الْمَاهِدُونَ. And we have spread the earth out. What excellent spreaders! وَمِن كُلِّ شَيْءٍ خَلَقْنَا زَوْجَيْنِ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَذَكَّرُونَ. We have created pairs from everything so that you may take heed. فَفِرُّوا إِلَى اللَّهِ إِنِّي لَكُمْ مِنْهُ نَذِيرٌ مُبِينٌ. So hasten towards Allah. Verily I am a clear warner to you from Him. وَلَا تَجْعَلُوا مَعَ اللَّهِ إِلَهًا آخَرَ إِنِّي لَكُمْ مِنْهُ نَذِيرٌ مُبِينٌ. Do not ascribe another deity with Allah. Verily I am a clear warner to you from Him. Verse number 52. كَذَلِكَ مَا أَتَى الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ مِنْ رَسُولٍ إِلَّا قَالُوا سَاحِرٌ أَوْ مَجْنُونٌ. In a like manner, whenever a Nabi came to those before them, they said that he is a magician or a madman. أَتَوَاصَوْا بِهِ بَلْ هُمْ قَوْمٌ طَاغُونَ. Have they made bequest to each other to behave in this manner? Nay, but they are a rebellious folk. Verse number 54. فَتَوَلَّ عَنْهُمْ فَمَا أَنْتَ بِمَأْلُومٍ. Ignore them, for you will not be blamed. وَذِكِّرْ فَإِنَّ الذِّكْرَ تَنْفَعُ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. Continue advising because advice is beneficial for the believers. Okay, in these verses, Allah speaks about the creation of many of His creation and instructs man to turn to Him and to remain steadfast on Tawheed. Allah discussed many aspects in these verses. Firstly, Allah begins by saying, we created the sky with might and we certainly possess vast power. Allah's powers are infinite and He is able to do as He pleases. Allah experienced no difficulty in creating the skies and everything occupying space. Allah mentioned in Surah Qaf, we have created the heavens, the earth, and whatever is between. The two is in 6 days, without fatigue ever remotely touching us. So, verse number 38. Hazrat Hassan Raziyallahu Ta'ala anhu, Hazrat Hassan alayhi salam translate Inna La Masinun, translated above as we certainly possesses vast powers, as it is we who grant abundant sustenance. Secondly, and we have spread the earth out. What excellent spreaders! Man is able to lie down and sleep comfortably on the earth without fearing that he will fall off somewhere. Allah asks in Surah Ghashiyah, and have they not looked at the earth, how it was spread out? Verse number 20. Thirdly, we have created pairs from everything. Hazrat Mujahid salam states that this refers to the opposites and that Allah has created like the day and the night, good fortune and ill fortune, guidance and deviation, the earth and the sky, black and white, health and illness, etc. Allah created all of this so that you may take heed. That is, by witnessing all these bounties, man should realize that Allah is his all powerful Rabb. He should then turn his attention towards Allah and worship only Him. Fourthly, so hasten towards Allah, worship Allah, and never disobey Him. Fifthly, Allah instructs Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to announce to the people, "Verily, I am a clear warner to you from Him." Sixthly, do not ascribe another deity with Allah. This command to abstain from shirk is clear. Seventhly, verily I am a clear warner to you from him. Eighthly, Allah Ta'ala then tells Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that the opposition that he receives from the mushrikeen is nothing new, because in a like manner, whenever a Nabi came to those before them, that is before the Makkans, they said that he is magician or a madman. However, these Ambiyas, Nabi alayhi salam, exercised patience and persevered with their duties. Ninthly, Allah asks, have they, that is, the various nations, made bequest to each other to behave in this manner? Nay, but they are a rebellious folk. The question is rhetorical. It is obvious that every nation could not have made a bequest to the nation after them. It was the inherent rebelliousness of every nation that drove them to oppose the Anbiya alayhi salam. Tenthly, Allah instructs Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, ignore them, for you will not be blamed. The duty of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was to do his best to convey the message of Islam clearly to the masses. After doing this, he could not be blamed for those who refused to accept. 11thly, Allah finally instructs Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to persevere in his duty when he says, continue advising because advice is beneficial for the believers. Advice is extremely beneficial for those who are destined to the believers. As for those who have already believed, it serves to fortify their belief. Ruhul Mani. Now I'll recite from verse number 57 till the 60, till verse number 60. وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. I have created man and jinn only to worship me. مَا أُرِيدُ مِنْهُمْ مِنْ رِزْقٍ وَمَا أُرِيدُ أَنْ يُطْعِمُونَ. I require neither sustenance from them, nor do I want them to feed me. إِنَّ اللَّهَ هُوَ الرَّزَّاقُ ذُو الْقُوَّةِ الْمَتِينَ. Without doubt, Allah is the sustainer, the possessor of absolute power, strong. فإن للذين ظلموا ذنوبا مثل ذنوب أصحابهم فلا يستعجلون. There shall certainly be substantial punishment for the oppressors, which shall be similar to the punishment of those like them. So do not hurry me. فَوَيْلٌ لِلَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا مِنْ يَوْمِهِمُ الَّذِي يُوعَدُونَ. Woe we to be the disbelievers of the day about which they have been promised. Allah clearly declares, I have created man and jinn only to worship me. From among his creation, Allah has granted intelligence to man, jinn, and angels. In addition to this, Allah has also granted man and jinn the capacity to carry out good and evil. Allah has created man and jinn for the express purpose of worshipping him. However, it is evident that those who are obedient to him are fewer in number than the disobedient ones, whereas man and jinn ought to be exerting all their efforts to obey Allah. While Allah has informed man and jinn that they have been created to worship him, He has also warned them, saying, I shall definitely fill Jahannam with the multitude of man and jinn. Verse number 119, Surah Hud. It is therefore incumbent on all of mankind to worship Allah alone and to abstain from kufr and sin. Allah says further, I require neither sustenance from them nor do I want them to feed me. Allah expresses His independence in this verse. Unlike the master of this world who want their slaves to earn for them, Allah Ta'ala requires nothing from His slaves. Mankind can do nothing to benefit Allah, and the worship they undertake is only for their own benefit. Allah asserts, without doubt, Allah is the sustainer, the possessor of absolute power, strong. Allah sustains everything in the universe and none can compare with His power and strength. How can creation ever hope to provide Him with sustenance? Allah then speaks of the punishment that the kuffar shall have to face when He says, there shall certainly be substantial punishment for the oppressor, which shall be similar to the punishment of those like them. So do not hurry me. The kuffar shall certainly receive the punishment they deserve. The fact that the punishment has not yet arrived does not mean that they will be able to escape from it. The Arabic word the noob translated above as sustainable punishment actually refers to a bucket that is full. It is used metaphorically here to denote punishment. Allah concludes the surah by saying, Woe be the disbelievers on the day about which they have been promised, while some commentators state that this day refers to the day when the Battle of Badr took place. Other remains that it refers to the day of Qiyamah. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين اللهم اغفر للمسلمين والمسلمات والمؤمنين والمؤمنات السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.